Welcome back. In this session, we will be looking at a file to IDoc scenario, and that file to IDoc scenario is going to deal with two different news concepts that we are going to look at. First is that, as in the previous session, we saw that the file was a comma separated file. Now we are going to look at a file that is a fixed field length file. What is a fixed field length file? A fixed field length file is a file where each field has a fixed length. So from the perspective of the scenario that we built, an order type is always 4 characters long. A sales organization can be defined as something that is always 2 characters long. A distribution channel is always 4 characters long, and so on. So a fixed field length file is a file where all the fields have defined lengths, and those fields would come in those defined lengths. So it could also be a case where, while here the order type is ZX06, your order type could actually be ZXO, right? So in that case, you will have an extra space. Basically, even if the field will have a maximum field length, but if the field does not occur, it can also have blanks like this that says 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 blanks denote that the order type is blank, and so on. So a fixed field length file is nothing but a file that has a fixed length where all the fields have fixed length. So in this case, our input file is going to look like something like this. We're going to pick up this file and process it in PI, where we're going to convert this file into a XML content. Now once PI processes this into an XML content, now instead of using an integrated configuration, we are going to use a classical configuration. And because we are going to use a classical configuration, we are going to use a IDoc adapter and not an IDoc underscore AAE adapter. And also, this input file will also contain multiple orders. So we will be looking at how do we perform multi-mapping using an IDoc adapter. So previously, in an IDoc underscore AAE adapter, what will we do? We change the target message occurrence as 0 to unbounded. In the case of a classical IDoc adapter, what we are going to do is we are going to download the IDoc's XSD, and we are going to make some changes to the XSD and then reload them into the mapping. Okay, so with this, let's get started, where we are going to now build the file to IDoc scenario, where our sender file is going to get a fixed field length file, and then we are going to use a classical configuration with an IDoc adapter. So let's get started. All right, so I'm going to close all. I'm going to minimize this namespace, and now I'm going to create a new namespace and call it training.com/content conversion underscore file to IDoc. Okay, underscore 00, and I'm going to say namespace for file content conversion for a file to IDoc scenario using classical configuration. Okay, and I'm going to save my namespace. Now, as always, I'm going to go ahead and copy my data type. So I'm just going to go here, take the data type, because the data type is going to remain the same. I'm just going to copy the data type. I'm going to remove the ICO name here, and I'm going to go in here and select the file to IDoc here. Okay, now in this is my data type. I'm not going to make any change in my data type. All right, now let's go ahead, create the next step, which is our message type. So I go here, interface objects, new message type, and I'm going to call it content conversion underscore file to IDoc underscore source underscore 00. Right, I'm going to drag my data type here, make sure the hand symbol comes up is black, and drop my data type. So my message type has been created. The next step is to create a service interface. So I say go to my service interface, I say SIOA content conversion underscore file to IDoc underscore source underscore 00. Right, now this is my service interface. It's outbound, it's asynchronous. I select my message type, drag it and drop it. All right, the next step is I'm going to create the mapping. Now in this case, again, I'm going to go to my mapping. I'm going to go to my file to IDoc scenario. I'm going to go to my message mapping, right click on my message mapping. Oops, there's something wrong where my right clicks are not working, so I'm going to close all. Something's wrong with my mouse. Much better. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, right click, and say copy object, right? And I'm going to copy it into the name mm underscore content conversion underscore file to IDoc underscore 00. Change the namespace, and I'm selecting my file to IDoc scenario. Okay, and I'm saying copy. Once my mapping is copied, I go into edit mode of my mapping. Okay, I'll close this. I'm going to the edit mode of my mapping, and I'm going to my signature tab. Now this is pointing to the message type from the file to IDoc scenario. So now I'm just going to drag the message type and load it here, right? And now if I go back to my definition, because the structure is the same, my mapping structure is retained. I don't have to make any changes to my mapping. Let's save this. Now let's look at the presentation one more time. Previously, for an IDoc AAE configuration, we went into the signature and we changed the occurrence to 0 to unbounded. And when we did that, the entire mapping vanished and we had to redo the mapping. But for a classical configuration, you need not do that. There's something else that you need to do. What do we need to do? You need to export the IDoc as an XSD. So let's go down. Okay, let's open the IDoc. So what I'm going to do is I'm opening the IDoc. Okay, I'm going into tools and saying export XSD. All right, go to your IDoc, go to tools and say export XSD. All right, so now the express order IDoc is going to get exported. One more time. Go to imported object, go to your IDoc, open your IDoc, go to the menu option tools, go to export XSD, right? And in my training, let's save this as an XSD. So, and now if I go into my training folder, I should be able to see the XSD here, right? I'm going to open it with Notepad. I'm not going to open it with anything else. I'm going to open it with Notepad and look for something that is having the name orders.order05. Just look for your IDoc name. Okay, and here if you see it says XSD element name IDoc type equal to orders.order05, right? Out here you need to make one minor change. Just change the max occurrence, add this field called max occurrence is equal to unbounded. Okay, so open up, let's do one thing. I'll first open it in a browser. So let's open it, open with, choose default program, other programs. I'm just going to open it with Internet Explorer, my IDoc XSD. So what I'm going to do is, in this XSD element name IDoc, type is equal to orders.order05. I'm going to add this field called max occurs and say it is unbounded, right? So I'm going to again open it with Notepad. I'm going here. I know that it is here XSD element name IDoc type equal to orders.order05, and I copy paste my max occurrence is equal to unbounded. Okay, and once I've done that, I'm saving it, and once I save it, I just refresh my browser one more time, and perfect. I've gotten max occurs is equal to unbounded. So that's the only change that you need to do. Import your IDoc. After you import your IDoc, export the IDoc as an XSD. Once you export the IDoc as an XSD, open it in an editor like Notepad. Look for your message type. You know, in this case, orders.order0 is my message type. Look for XSD element name is equal to IDoc and change the occurrence by adding the element max occurs is equal to unbounded. Now, when I do that, what's going to happen is I should now be able to send multiple IDocs in PI through my message mapping. Let's do one more thing. Now that I've imported and created that XSD, I need to go into my namespace and create a new external definition. So go to interface objects, go to new, go to your namespace, go to new interface object, go to external definition, say ed orders 05, let's just put an underscore, to denote the dot, orders.order05 underscore XSD. Remember guys, where else did we use an external definition? When we did our HTTP to SOAP scenario, we used an external definition that was of type WSDL. Now in the category, select it as XSD. Once you select it as XSD, go to your file, say import, and select your orders.order05 XSD. Okay. If everything is right, here you should see orders.order05, and here now in the IDoc fee element you should see the structures changing to 1:1 unbounded. If you go here, okay, so with that you can see the structure as 1:1 unbounded. All right. So now let's go back to our message mapping. In the message mapping, go to the signature functions, and instead of the IDoc, drag this external definition that we are using, right? So I have imported, where is my external definition? Okay, I have not saved it, so I'm going to save my external definition. And now you can see the external definition here. Now go back to your message mapping, and now in your message mapping, in the target message, instead of the IDoc, drag and drop the external definition. I repeat, I'm going to close my message mapping. This is our message mapping. I'm going to edit mode. I'm going to the signature. The signature, the message type here is an IDoc message type. Now instead of that, I'm going to go in, select the external definition, drag the external definition here and put the external definition here. Now when I do that, don't change the occurrence. The occurrence continues to remain the same. Now if I go into definition, everything remains the same excepting the fact that your IDoc now will have the value 1:1 unbounded. I'm not going to save it. I'm saying do not save. I'm going to my message mapping, and in my message mapping, if you look at the IDoc occurrence, it is 1:1. But remember, that is the exact change we did to our XSD. So I'm going into my message mapping, I'm going to edit mode, I'm going into my signature tab, and here I'm going to drag this external definition here and put it out here. This is the external definition we imported, and now when I go into definition, my IDoc is showing it as 1:1 unbounded. Now you need to just go in, drag the record set to the IDoc, and you're done. Okay, so now what's going to happen? PI is now going to say for every record set in the input file, it will accordingly create as many IDocs. Okay, with that our message mapping is done. Now let's go ahead and say operation mapping, create an operation mapping. So I'm going to say OM underscore content conversion underscore file to IDoc underscore 00. Okay, out here my source structure will still be, my service interface will still be this, my target interface is still going to be my IDoc. I'm going to say read operations, and now when I select my message mapping, it will say no mapping found. This is because your target message is expecting it of IDoc type. So go into your target message and change it to any, and when you save any, say refresh, you should now see your mapping displayed. Okay, make your target message as any, and when you make it as any, you should see your mapping message displayed. Select and save your operation mapping. Okay, with this your enterprise service repository work is done. Right click on your change list and activate on your changes. To repeat, what did we do? We created a data type, we basically copied a data type, we created a message type, we created an outbound service interface, then we copied our message mapping. Now in the message mapping, the IDoc has an occurrence of 1:1. So what did we do? We exported the IDoc as an XSD, and once I exported the IDoc as an XSD, I made a change to the XSD such that I added the max occurs is equal to unbounded. After I did that, in my message mapping, let's go to the message mapping, I changed the target message as external message, and in my operation mapping, when I was using my selection help, it would say no message found. In the target message, make it as any, and then click on refresh again. Make sure you click the refresh again, and when you click on the refresh, you will be able to see this and say select. Okay, Save, and with that your enterprise service repository work is done. Oops, I should not reject my changes, I should activate my changes, and I'm activating my changes. Okay, my change list has been activated. I will get a warning. You can ignore that warning. The warning says, hey, the target message mapping and interface does not match. That is expected, and this is an expected, and this is how you build the mapping. So you can ignore this warning, nothing to worry about. So your change list has been activated. Okay, with this, now we will move ahead with the configuration in the integration directory. Okay, so let's go into our integration directory. I'll close everything that's here. As always, I'm going to create a folder. Okay, I'm going to call it content conversion underscore file to IDoc underscore 00. Okay, so as always, the first channel that we will create is our sender channel. So I do it under BS file system 00 CC content conversion file to IDoc. I already have this name. I'm just going to remove the ICO and I say create. Okay, so in my file adapter type, I will select the file adapter type to be as file and say apply. And in the message protocol, you're going to perform a content conversion, so make sure you select file content conversion. Let's go ahead and put in our directory. I have my directory info available here. So I'm just going to go into my nodes and I'm going to select my data here and put my source directory. Here I'm going to put my file name. I'm going to say file to IDoc underscore, let's go see what was the name before of my CSV file. I had called it as CSV. I'll say here, I'll say fixed dot txt. Okay, or we can just say file to IDoc underscore classical dot txt. All right, let's do that. Okay, now I'm saving it, no worries, we are going to do that. I go to the processing tab, I make sure that the processing mode is in delete. Let's go into the content conversion. The content conversion parameters are more or less going to remain the same, excepting for a few changes. So we'll do that one more time. What is the document name going to be? The document name is the name of your message type. Yes. So let's get the name of our message type and put the message type name here. Let's get the name of our namespace and put that against the document namespace. So the document name is the message type name. The document namespace is the message type namespace. The record set name continues to be record set. So I'm going to say record set. There's no record set namespace, and the record set structure header comma 1 item comma star. Exactly. Key field name, let's say key field is going to be, again we call it as key. All right, now let's go ahead and add our fields. So first header dot field names, and let's give the names of our fields, right? And our fields are going to be key, even though if I look here, the first element is the key, so I'm going to say key, and the remaining are going to be from here. Order type, sales org, distribution channel, division, PO number, sold to party, and ship to party. Okay, next header dot, previously we had told field separator, but here we will not have a field separator. We will instead have a field fixed length. Okay, so you should have something called field fixed lengths. Okay, I will say field fixed lengths, and now I need to give the length of each field. So the key field is 1 character long, The order type is 4 characters long. Next is the sales org. The sales org is 2 characters long. The distribution channel is 4 characters long. The division is 2 characters long. The PO number is again 4 characters long. Sold to party is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 characters long. The ship to party is also 6 characters long. Okay. Header dot field names, header dot field fixer length, and then we say header dot end separator as new line. Okay. Next, header dot key field value, and this header dot key field value will be H. And then we say header dot key field in structure. Let's get the correct spelling here. Key field. Okay, key field in structure, and the value is going to be ignored. We had seen this previously. I just wanted to get the right spelling. I didn't want a syntax. Be very careful. A lot of times what happens is when people do a copy paste, there will be an extra space at the end of it. If there's an extra space, PI will complain. So every time you have a problem, make sure that none of the values have space at the end of them. Okay. So key field, there should be no space at the end. Okay. Key field in structure, I say ignore. Next, we are going to say item dot field names. The first field is key. The second field is item number. And then I say quantity. And I say material. Okay. Next, item dot field names, field fixed lengths. Okay, so key is 1 character long. Item number is how many characters long? Item number is 1 character long. Quantity is 2 characters long. And the material, let's get the length. I'm not going to count that. So I'm going to, let's just make the material as 4 characters long. We'll edit the data later. Okay. Field fixed. You see there's a typing mistake here. LENGTHS. Okay. And last, item dot key field in structure. I'm going to say ignore and save my channel. Okay. So with this, my file content conversions is done. Right. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a IDoc adapter. Rather than create an IDoc channel, the brand new channel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse this receiver channel. Remember, a sender channel can always have 1:1 relationship with a scenario, but a receiver channel can be used across scenarios. So I'm not going to create a new IDoc receiver channel. I'm just going to reuse the IDoc receiver adapter channel that was available previously in our configuration. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create an integrated configuration. BS file system 00, and I'm going to say SI OA content conversion. Select my content conversion. Service interface, say create. Is this correct? No, we are not creating an integrated configuration. We need to create a classical configuration, and so when we are creating a classical configuration, the first object that we will be creating is a sender agreement. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, create my sender agreement. I'm selecting my scenario here, my sender agreement service interface here, say create, and now I'm going to select my content conversion file to IDoc sender, select that channel and say save. Okay, after we create a sender agreement, the next step is to create a receiver determination. So I'm creating a receiver determination object and giving my interface details and saying create. Now my receiver business system is going to be EH5CLNT800, which is my SAP backend system. So give your receiver business system details. Now go to the configuration overview tab. Now in the configuration overview tab, the first thing you'll be creating is an interface determination. So right click, say new specific, and when you say new specific, you can select your operation mapping, select my operation mapping and save. So with this, my interface determination has also been created. Go back to your receiver determination and refresh, and when you refresh this, you will have the IDoc created. And you see here what I had mentioned, you need not recreate, you can always reuse it. PI was able to intelligently also reuse the receiver agreement because the header information is the same. Because the sender is the same, the receiver is the same, the IDoc is the same, it is reusing the communication channel. So in fact, you need not also create a receiver agreement. The receiver agreement is being shared between two scenarios. Okay, with this, let's go ahead and activate our changes. Okay, now that our changes have been activated, let's go ahead and create our file, right? So to create my file, I'm going to open my CSV file. I'm going to save this file. Okay, so let's create this file and save it as file to IDoc fixed.txt. I think that's the name we gave here, right? So let's check that in my sender communication channel. File to IDoc, sorry, it's classical.txt. So I'm going to save that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just replace all the comma and say replace all. One another thing, if you remember, we had agreed that we'll reduce the length of our material number. So I'm going to go in here. My material number is first is key field, then you have the item number, and you have the quantity, which is a 3-character long, and so from the 4th number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my item number. Okay. Sorry, I1 is the item number, and then 3 is the quantity. I think something's wrong with our configuration. So let's have a look. Quantity was supposed to be 2 characters long, right? But here I put it as 3 characters, which is wrong. So let's fix that, because I don't think the quantity was exactly. So I'm just fixing that, and I'm activating my communication channel again. The quantity is going to be 2 characters long. So this is my item, this is my item number, and then this is my quantity. And now my material number, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it as a 4-character long. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So let's just copy this, and again out here in this file as well, I'm going to make, so this is item, this is the line item number, this is the quantity, and then I'm going to just going to copy this line and replace it here. Replace it here. Replace it here. Replace it here. So this is item number 1, item number 2. Item number 1, I'm going to say item number 2, sorry, item number 1, item number 2, item number 1. Everything has a quantity 10, so let's make the first one as quantity 1, and remember it's a fixed field length character, so it means you have to have a space here. So this quantity will be taken as 1, the remaining I'm going to say 9 here, and this is going to be 10. Alright, so now that we have that, let's save this file. And let's go ahead and upload this file. Okay, so now I'm going to go in here, give the name of the file, I'm going to say upload. Now that my file is uploaded, let's just go here check this file. Yes, my file is available here. Now let's go to our communication channel monitor and give the name of our communication channel. Okay, there's a problem. What is the problem? Parameter item.key field value, no value found. So let's go into a content conversion. Did we maintain the parameter key field value? So if you see, item has just 3. We have not put the key field value. So let's go ahead. So PI does a validation. It is a mandatory field, key field value, and I go in and say I. Okay. Now our communication, I've done that. I've activated that. So the error was item.key field value is not found. So I've gone in and done that. I've added the item.key field value. Now I'm going to go refresh it here. And now if you see, the file got picked up and the file got processed. Now let's go back to monitoring. Okay. Oops, no, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. I'm going to adapter engine, message monitor. I'm going to message overview. Okay, content conversion, file to IDoc. There's one message. Let's go into that. And let's go into message content. Let's go into payload. And you see, exactly like what we wanted, we have everything that is created. There's some problem with the data with our content conversion parameter because the PO number is showing incorrectly. The sold to party is also showing incorrectly. It is because we didn't calculate the length correctly, but that's absolutely okay. Our issue is not to make sure all the lengths were right, but then the issue was to make sure that everything was right. And remember, the quantity was supposed to be 1. Here it is 1. There was a space. That space has also been taken care of. Okay. Now let's go into SXMB Moni. Why are we going into SXMB Moni? Because this is a classical configuration. You need to monitor it in SXMB underscore Moni. Okay. So let's go into SXMB underscore Moni. Monitor for processed XML messages, execute, and this is our message. It is successfully delivered. Let's look at the message, double click it, go to, if I want to see the output payload, I go to technical routing. If I want to see the input payload, I go to inbound message, payload, main documents, I say right click, display content in window 1. So I have 2 orders, right? Now I go into technical routing, right click, I say display content in window 2, and my IDoc is visible. And now if you see, there are 3 IDocs that have been created because there are 3 records in this input file, right? So that's it. The message got delivered to SAP, and if I want to see the SAP IDoc number, I click on this IDoc button here. I see this. There are 3 IDocs that got delivered. I say message tracking. I say tracking, and I get the SAP IDoc numbers. Okay. So with this, what have we been able to achieve? We've been able to take an input file that was in a fixed field length file and convert it into a XML and process that. Now let's look at this a little bit more, right? Let's look at a few more parameters. Let's go into content conversion and let's make a simple change. Remember the record sets per message? Let's make the record sets per message as 2 and see what happens, right? In the input file, and I'm going to make the record set per message as 2 and activate it. Okay, so what is going to happen is the input file has 3 record sets. So you're going to have 2 messages now. The first message is going to have 2 record set and the second message is going to have 1 record set, right? So I'm going to go upload the file one more time. My file has been uploaded and I'm going to go into message mode, communication channel monitor. I'm going to start so that my file gets picked up. My file got picked up. Now I'm going to go back to SXMB underscore Moni. How many messages do we expect here? 2 messages, and you see 2 new messages have come in. Let's look at these messages. The first message has 2 IDoc, and the second message, oops, sorry, I clicked the same message, and the second message has 1 IDoc. So that's the use of record sets per message. You're telling how many record sets should be there in the message, provided when the record sets are multiple record sets, and PI will intelligently divide and split the messages accordingly. Okay.